Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this is going to be my Beowulf episode 1 video. It's mostly does the job of starting to build out the cast of characters and build the mythology of this show. It's going to take the first couple of episodes. There's still a couple really big characters that we don't meet till the second and third episodes. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. So what I'm going to do is explain some of the big core concepts that they introduce in this, like the idea of the Mudborn and why the lead is buried just a little bit. At the end of the episode, there's a bit of a twist that explains the relationship of the people in Arot, where this is taking place, in the Mudborn. Because at first glance, you're led to believe that there's something supernatural at play, when really it's a wolf in the henhouse situation. So let's just get started. So the idea of Mudborn and like the pre-history of the show is actually pretty interesting. I like the way they kind of casually slip things in, like the idea of giants or the idea that there are these like intelligent creatures born of the dirt of this earth. So just to start, in the context of this world, they at least believe that giants used to inhabit the land where they are living before man drove them out. They don't say exactly how long ago it was that they drove the giants out, only that it's been long enough to pass into myth. The Mudborn seem a lot more common, and then there are a couple different types that they talk about during the episode. And then there's the idea of like the Grendel type monster, which is an even different type of thing. We learned at the end of the episode that that's more of a skin changer, which is kind of the twist. So that last little bit is obviously something that it's going to take a couple more episodes to figure out. But the basic idea of the Mudborn is that they're animals that people have a certain level of control over. So we open the episode with the Mudborn attack on Beowulf and who we think is his father, which actually ends up being a bit of a twist at the end too. But Beowulf shows great heroics, finishes off the second monster, but not before his seeming father dies, and Hrothgar rides up to take Beowulf in. Now there's no explanation as to like what Hrothgar and his retinue were doing riding around at the beach. Maybe they were hunting the Mudborn, maybe not. But based on the twist at the end of the episode, which I'll just go ahead and talk about now just to make it a little bit easier. It turns out that Beowulf is secretly Hrothgar's natural born son. We don't know who Beowulf's mother is, because he has a wife named Rita and a natural born son with her named Slein, who is the heir apparent, although not technically the heir because Hrothgar chose his wife to succeed him. This first episode does a good job of kind of explaining the character dynamics. So you have Hrothgar in modern day who's died. You have Beowulf, his adoptive son, who is secretly his natural born son with a mystery woman that we don't know about yet. You have Rita, Hrothgar's wife, their son, Slein, and the tease at the end of the episode before Beowulf was mysteriously banished for unknown reasons, which they haven't explained yet. Hrothgar knows something crazy is going to happen. Beowulf is going to have to come back to help his brother. But we jump forward to present day as Beowulf is coming back. So he's had all these grand adventures. He and his friend Brecca joke about some of the trouble that they got into in the previous town. He's already become a man, this great warrior. He's come back to town because Hrothgar is dying. He doesn't know that he's already dead. But they ride into Arot, they find a couple of dead bodies. He references the Mudborn, like, oh, Mudborn must have done this. And you see a Mudborn, the same type he killed, being used for manual labor. So they're actually pretty common. But everybody starts staring at Beowulf as he rides in. So you get the sense that whatever the circumstances of his banishment were, they were really bad. But it's one of the big plot points that isn't completely explained in the first episode. The costume and the set design is actually pretty amazing. Like the Great Hall here, it reminds me a lot of Rohan from the Lord of the Rings movies. A very similar setting. I wouldn't say that Rohan is exactly Scandinavian. This is a little more historically accurate. We finally meet Slein's character, who's actually a pretty terrible person. He has a pretty big inferiority complex, so I'm wondering if he's going to get some sort of redemptive arc with Beowulf. Usually in a series like this, if a character is presented as being terrible to other people like this, usually they're either marked for death or they get some sort of redemption. And he does have a couple moments that try to make him a little more sympathetic. Like he's really upset he didn't save Elvina himself from the Mudborn, but she's like, you've saved me many times in the past. Don't worry about it. Seriously. We meet Bayan, who we find out is the aging Reeve. That's kind of like the constable. He's like the highest level of authority beneath the Thane. And we find out that the Thane is actually Rita, Hrothgar's wife. So obviously, even though they're kind of selling this Slein versus Beowulf conflict, there's a lot of other minor conflicts going on, a lot of politics happening within the community before Beowulf ever gets there. They're presenting Slein as the big antagonist of the episode, next to the mystery Mudborn, who it turns out might be the skin changer. But that's really just misdirection. Selene himself is just someone that has an inferiority complex. Like, he feels his father, Hrothgar, loved Beowulf more, and doesn't know that Beowulf is secretly Hrothgar's natural-born son. Although that would probably only make things worse. I don't think that would make Selene love Beowulf more. You get the sense through the episode that Selene feels like Beowulf has come back to take what Selene thinks is his. Like, take his woman, like, oh, were you expecting Beowulf? No, I wasn't expecting him, what's the matter with you? But whatever the drama that drove Beowulf out that caused him to be banished in the first place, they will not allow him to see Hrothgar's body. And even though Rita seems kind of like an antagonist in this scene here, where she's like, no, absolutely not, you can't see the body. And you get the flashback earlier where she automatically sides with Selene over Beowulf when they get in that childhood fight. She still seems fairly level-headed, like she is just trying to be a good leader, even if it means being kind of awful to people. Thanes aren't exactly the same thing as kings, but you get the idea. Hrothgar was the leader amongst the leaders, so now his wife has to maintain that position. And a lot of people don't think that a woman is capable of that in that time, even though you see a lot of women doing very important tasks, like Elvina is the physician, the blacksmith is female, who it seems like is actually a better fighter than most of the guards. So the stage is set, there's some minor conflict, Beowulf starts meeting some of the other characters. Elvina seems pretty interesting, and I know there's some twists in the episode that make her seem a little more sinister. Like, maybe she's controlling this other Mudborn. She definitely seems like she knows what's going on and just isn't saying anything, but she's unsure of what it's going to do. So I don't think she's outright controlling it, but I do think that she has a connection to it. Either it knows her, or if it is a skin changer, it's related to her. It's a little early to talk about twists without meeting some of the other new characters. When we move into the banquet scene, there's a lot of levity, there's a little bit of comedy. Beowulf's friend Brecca meets Leela, the blacksmith's mother, who seems pretty DTF. But then the episode turns, and circumstances lead everyone to believe that Beowulf has killed Bayan. But it's not till later in the episode they discover someone else killed Bayan before the Mudborn had a chance to. So it's only a coincidence. We don't really know why the Mudborn was trying to get into the Great Hall. But the Mudborn chasing Elvina into the woods provides the opportunity for Beowulf and his friend to escape. They go after her to try and save her, wind up in the giant's old keep, which actually kind of reminds me of Barad-dûr. So I'm wondering what else we're going to find in there. It seems like a really big place that they don't really explore, so hopefully we'll go back there in the future. This whole scene with Elvina and the monster is just a whole bunch of WTF. It almost treats her like a mother, and it's very clearly trying to protect her when Beowulf rides in, even though Beowulf doesn't know that. Elvina doesn't really acknowledge that, so there's still a lot of questions about what's going on. At first glance, it seems like she wants to hide the fact that she has a connection to this thing. Otherwise, she would have said, "Don't hurt it, it's trying to protect me." Like, she would have told Beowulf to stop. But he chops a couple fingers off, brings them back as proof that it was the thing that killed Bayan. But then Elvina rides up and is like, no, it didn't kill Bayan. It was someone else. Someone murdered him. Someone stabbed him. You get the sense from these scenes with Rita that she completely believes what's going on. Like, she's like, okay, Beowulf, you clearly didn't do all these terrible things. So whatever the mystery drama that drove Beowulf away, like, none of that's been forgiven. But for the moment, the more important thing is finding the wolf in the henhouse, like whoever really did kill Bayan. And as he goes to see Hrothgar's body, and they start flashing back, you actually get the reveal, "You are my son, but no one else knows that." And then later, there's a later flashback where he says, "Your brother's going to need you, the community's going to need you, and you will return." That seems like it was right before he left. He gets banished, then as he's leaving, Hrothgar tells him this. So very clearly, Hrothgar knew something was going to happen. In the way they make it seem like his banishment wasn't an official thing, as if it were a self-imposed banishment, but it's probably going to be a couple episodes before we find that out. So given the way a couple of these characters are presented, like, my prime candidate for the actual murder, like the human murderer of Bayan, is Var here, who they were talking to. He doesn't seem evil, but he does seem like a worm-tongue type character, someone who has an idea for the way things should be run and is trying to protect that. It seems like he supports Rita, so even if he did kill Bayan, it's not that he wants power for himself. Like, he's not going to then turn around and kill Rita too. The thing that really sold me on Var, though, was like that last look that he had at Beowulf, where he's like, "There isn't anything in this great hall that I don't know about. There are no secrets from me." And that seemed pretty genuine. So I'm assuming if he didn't kill Bayan, he knows who did. But the fun thing about the tease for the next episode is the idea of skin changers. So we can talk a little bit more about the mythology of the show as we go along. But let me know in the comments, like, what was your favorite moment from this episode? And what do you think is going on with this Mudborn and Elvina? Like, what is their connection? And who do you think killed Bayan? Do you think that Var killed Bayan? So what I'm going to do for my next Beowulf video is it's going to be a little bit like this too, because there will be a bunch of new characters, so I'll just have to explain who they are. It's always fun to try and figure out a big show, but I would say like the most major change from the original Beowulf poem to this series is the idea that Beowulf is secretly Hrothgar's son. When like in the original poem, he's just a great hero from nearby. So the other really big plot point is finding out who Beowulf's mother is. Episode 2 is going to air next Saturday, January 30th on the Esquire network. It starts at 10/9 Central. But just in case you guys haven't seen it, I've already done like a general preview for the entire season. You can click here to watch that, and you can click here for the official site for the show on the Esquire network. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.